Thing says live in 39 minutes. That's what it reads.
No, we're live now. We're not live in 39 minutes. It's 10 o'clock. We're live now. Oh, I think we're live now. Welcome, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to I Think We're Live. Yes, Richard, it's working. I'm looking at the screen. You freaked me out. It's live. Okay, right. Thank you, everybody, for coming back. Yeah, a history of a Book of Enoch. Let's go. Richard, introduce yourself for all the new people there. I think we've got a few new people there, so if you want to say hello to them.
It looks like it. Yeah, this is one of the few times I'm going to say if you like the conversation that we have tonight, please go and subscribe to my channel as well. I need you. I need you desperately. What can I say about me? I have a very, very unusual view of spiritual text that doesn't require prejudice and anger and hatred and lots of other things that religious people normally profess. I have a reading of the text that does not require that. And what we're doing on MathPig's channel here and what I'm doing otherwise is applying the context that I've adopted onto other texts to use it as an interpretive model to show consistency within these stories. So that's part of the no prejudice part, that all of these ancient stories are actually telling us the same story.
Yes, I think the consensus...
And that would be the YouTube channel Demolish Doctrine as written underneath my little frame here.
I think the general consensus is we're going to do the Epic of Gilgamesh next. Yes, no.
That happy? Sounds fun.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Oh, sure.
Excuse me, it's okay. I don't have the COVID. Relax. Yeah. What about you, Richard? How's it affecting?
It's not contagious online. It's okay, man.
How's it affecting you?
I don't even know someone who's sick. I haven't even, in my circle of friends, I don't even heard. For all I know, they're making the whole thing. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just kidding. But for all I know nobody that's sick. So
Dave's sister has it. I know people who have it.
I'm sorry for Dave's sister.
It's because people don't understand exponential rates. That's all I'm saying. Right, Dave's put all your links in the chat, so you really have to say you love Dave now. Anyway,
I love Dave anyway.
We're on chapter 90. We've got there. We're nearly at the end. I think that's it. There's nothing you want to cover from last week, Richard. We've got a new setup. I hope it looks a wee bit better for people. I hope everybody can read it a wee bit more. The fact that it's low res is YouTube limiting everybody. But yeah, bar that, I think it looks okay. I think everybody should be able to read it a wee bit better, including Richard.
Yeah, it looks good to me from where I'm sitting. Oh, that's one more thing. Before we move on to the Epic of Gilgamesh, we're going to have to do the citations show.
The citations show?
Yeah, the citations show, where we've been writing down things that I have said exist and I didn't even show citations for. We're going to have to do the citation show.
Oh, no, that's going to be the after party, man. Don't you worry about that. We have not forgot about that.
Okay. I'm going to need that list, though, because I'm going to have to go and look all that stuff up.
Just making sure the live chat's coming up over the thing. It is. Right. Sorry. Oh, my goodness. I'm bad at this today. Right. I'm sorry. I've changed freaking sleep time pattern to basically Eastern Standard, and it's ruined me. Right. Richard, your wonderful voice. Chapter 90. Go on ahead.
Well, before I go ahead, I'd like to say for those of us who do have friends, relatives, loved ones, or ourselves sick, gosh, that's a tough road to hoe, man. I mean, I feel bad for my heart. My heart goes out to you. Truly, it does. All of you. Chapter 90. And I saw to the time when 36 shepherds thus pastured, and each one completed his time like the first, and others received them in their hands to pasture them in their time, each shepherd in his own time. And after that, well, I want to talk about that. And after that, I saw the vision, all the birds of heaven coming, the eagles and the vultures and the buzzards and the crows. But the eagles led all the birds, and they began to devour those sheep, and to pick out their eyes, and to devour their flesh. And the sheep cried out, because their flesh was being devoured by the birds. And I cried and lamented in my sleep over that shepherd who was pasturing the sheep. I'm going to stop right there. Alrighty then.
Where is my little mouse? There's there.
I'm wondering about this count of prior shepherds. 36. I wonder where the number 36 comes from and why. And I don't have justification for it. Although I do see in the Christian text 23 prior shepherds. And each of them lament.
Well, 3 and 6
over
and 7.
what happens to their sheep.
3 and 6 and 7. These are numbers that repeat in the Bible and Scripture. You know, they're.
Oh well, yeah, that's certainly true. That is certainly true.
Yeah.
So I think talking about the eagle leading all the birds before Satan attacks with the beast of the field, and yes, I mean killer bunny rabbits for real. Just all kinds of insanity. Hitchcocks the birds in real time.
That would be a bit mad.
Before that happens is God's arrival. What's that?
I said that would be a bit mad, surviving Hitchcock or being in Hitchcock's birds.
I think it's going to be just that bad near the end of the second half of end times and after the main ascension. It will be insane, according to the text, or the way that I read the text. That the eagle comes first, but then all come the buzzards, vultures, crows, etc. And normally throughout these works, the word eagle there would mean God, or representative of God, that we think of the eagle as being majestic and beautiful and etc. like that.
Yeah, like the king of the air. It is, the king of the air.
Right. Sure, absolutely. Moving on then. And I saw until those sheep were devoured by the dogs and the eagles and their buzzards, and they did not leave on them meat or skin or muscle till the skeletons stood there alone. Well, I doubt they stood. And the skeletons fell to the ground. I couldn't help it. And the skeletons fell to the ground also. And the sheep became less. And I saw to the time when 23 shepherds pastured. Well, now we have 23 shepherds pastured, and they completed, each in his time, 58 times. That's interesting. But small lambs were born from those white sheep. Go ahead.
No, just the numbers threw me off because they started with 36, we're now down to 23 because some died. They each completed in each time. I would expect that it was finished 23 times, but it's finished 58 times. And that's
58 times.
Yeah, it's not even double.
What is that all about?
Yeah, double 23 is 46. Like, where are they getting? It just doesn't. I don't know.
Oh, wait. 58 is the age of the shepherd. How about that?
Well, you could say that, but I don't know if it is or not.
But it works pretty good.
23 shepherds finished each time, and they did it all 58 times. So 58 times 23 is how many times they pastured?
Each in his time, 58 times. Oh my gosh, I don't know. That's pretty tough to sort out.
Yeah, it's not.
Just have to wait for God to tell me the answer to that one.
That'll happen. Moving on.
But small lambs were born from those white sheep, and they began to open their eyes and to see and to cry to the sheep. But the sheep did not cry to them and did not hear what they said to them. Okay, this looks like the beginning of another Christ. But were exceedingly deaf. There you go. And their eyes exceedingly and powerfully blinded. Yeah. And I saw in the vision that the crows flew on those lambs and took one of those lambs, Antichrist, but broke the sheep and devoured them. There you go. That's what he does. And I saw till horns came to those lambs, and the crows threw down those horns. And I saw till one great horn came forth, one of those sheep, and their eyes were opened. Okay, so that would be the hero of the story whose eyes are opened first, and the crow, or sometimes raven in the case of Noah's Ark, would be the Antichrist, or the one who leads people astray. Let's see, horn, and it looked at them, and their eyes were open, and it cried to the sheep, and the bucks saw it, and all ran to it. And with all that, those eagles and vultures and crows and buzzards to the time were tearing those sheep to pieces, and flew down on them and devoured them. But the sheep remained quiet, and the bucks lamented and cried out. Yes, okay, leadership would be, yeah. And those crows fought and battled with it, and sought to remove that horn, but had no power over it. You can't take Christ from being Christ, even if you are the beast of Satan. And I saw them till the shepherds and the eagles and those vultures and buzzards came, and they cried to those crows that they should break that horn of the buck. Now it's the buck. And they found and battled with it, and it fought with, they're going to kill it in a minute, fought with them and cried that its help might come to it. And I saw till that man who had written down the names of the shepherds and brought them up to the Lord of the sheep came, and he helped that buck and showed it everything that its help had come down, i.e. enlightenment of the Christ, arrival of heaven, until that the Lord of the sheep came to them in anger, wrath of God, and all who saw him fled, fear, Adam and Eve hiding in the Garden of Eden, and all fell into his shadow before his face under the wings of eagles. All the eagles and vultures and crows and buzzards assembled, and brought with them all the sheep of the desert, and they all came together and assisted one in order to break that horn of the buck. Here comes. And I saw that man who had written the book by the voice of God till he opened that book of destruction, which last end times, which those last 12 shepherds had practiced, apostles, and showed that they had destroyed more than those before them, before the Lord of the sheep. I think destroyed there would be a positive thing, like turned them, changed them completely. And I saw till the Lord of the sheep came to them.
Hold on. Did you just say that destroy them would be a positive thing?
Yes.
Right. Well, I don't see, like, you're just adding that to destroy is very, very rarely used in a positive manner.
You're right. That's why I wanted to point it out this time.
Your justification for it is to make it suit.
Usually that wouldn't be a... Well, because the 12 are doing it.
So because the 12 are doing it, it must be good. So we'll change destroy to mean
not
something.
Necessarily.
No, but so because the 12 are doing it, we'll change the word that is destroy and book of destruction, and we'll make that mean a good thing because the 12 shepherds are doing it. So because they're doing it, it must be
No,
good.
not necessarily.
So that's why I'm asking for your
No,
justification.
not necessarily. Just because they're doing it, it must be... Well, you've asked me 3 times. Okay, so the reason that I'm saying that is just like the word slay, like being slain in the spirit could be a good thing for a person. That is a severe change. Like when my life really changed, I was utterly destroyed. In fact, I think about 80% of what I thought was my metric for what people are had to be thrown away and rewritten. And it was extremely difficult. But overall, it made me just more accepting and loving of people in general, and not so judgmental, for one thing. And lots of other positive things happened to me because of that destruction. So yeah, I think destruction of old false ideas can be a good thing.
I just, to say break someone down and build them back up again is not, I wouldn't equate that with destruction. Destruction means destroyed, means gone, means, I get where you're coming from.
A lot of this is overstated. Like, a lot of this is overstated. Like, the Christ will not be an actual sheep with one giant horn growing out of it.
Oh, yes, that's a metaphor. That's
overstated.
A metaphor. But changing the meaning of the word destroy into making it to mean something good is not a metaphor. That's just a whole flippity-flop. That's
fair enough. but it works within the text consistently.
So, as I said at the start, it's fitting your story, and that's why you're going with that, because it fits your story. There's no justification.
I'm definitely sticking with the same context that I think is true, yeah.
Yeah, but I can't see any justification for the word being changed from meaning something bad into something good, except that when we do that, it fits your story. But changing the word that destroy, which is bad, into something good is a hell of a jump, just to make it fit your story.
Michael is the destroyer, but Michael's supposed to be good. What's wrong with that? He leads the destruction of the planet. What's that?
I could just say Michael doesn't exist and say that's my stance.
Sure, you could, but you can say that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an internal critique. So it doesn't matter if we believe it or not.
We're going to get stuck in this. I've made my point. It's a big leap.
Yes, it works well for what I'm saying. Okay. Very much so.
Okay.
I have very little other justification other than like comparing it to other such usage of the word.
That's perfect. That's just what I'm looking for, man. Thank you. Right, I don't even know what fucking chapter.
Tough cookie.
What verse are we on here? Are we there?
It's one of the things I love about you is that you're a tough cookie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I don't look for people who are easily swayed. There's no point in talking to them. And I saw till the Lord of the sheep came to them and took the rod of anger in his hand, end times, and struck the earth. Saw that coming. So that the earth was rent apart, and all the beasts and the birds of heaven fell away from those sheep, and sank down into the earth, those who won't be saved. And it was covered over them, pit of hell. And I saw till a great sword was given to the sheep, truth of God. And the sheep came to those wild beasts to kill them. Christ will defeat the beast of Satan. And all the beasts the birds of heaven.
Sorry, just to say it, right? So they're giving him a sword, and he's going to kill the beasts, right? So the sword is being used to kill the beasts. You're saying that he's going to defeat these people with the word. With just a word.
With truth.
With the truth.
With the truth. With the whole truth. Nothing but the truth, so help him God.
Yes, but before you've said that these people come and they have to be physical body, put in jail, they're really bad, they're doing these things, and now they're just going to be beaten by the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, they will be beaten by the truth because what they're aiming to do is keep people on the planet. That will be defeated. And by that, they will be defeated.
Okay.
Lost my place. Beast, bird, heaven fell over the sheep down to the earth, and it was covered over them. And I saw the great sword of sheep, and the beast, spirit, bird of heaven, with the face. Fled from their face.
I'm going to find your spot, and then I'm going to
that's a good time to move it. That's excellent. And I saw till a throne was built on the earth in the pleasant land, and the Lord of the sheep sat upon it. Okay, so God in heaven, that would be the pleasant land. And he took all the sealed books and opened those books before the Lord of the sheep. All meanings of all religions will be revealed. And the Lord called to those first six white ones, and commanded that they should bring to him from the first star on, which had come forth. Wow, this is weird.
Yeah.
All the stars whose sexual members, had been familiar to the sexual members of, here we go, back with the Nephilim, the invention of the Nephilim, fallen angels. Horses, and also the first star that had first fallen, or otherwise as is Azazel, and they brought all before him. And he said to that man who wrote before him, who was one of the six white ones, and said to him, take those 70 shepherds to whom I have delivered the sheep, and taking them, they of their own account killed more than I had commanded them. Okay. That's weird and deep. And taking them, and behold, I saw them all bound, and all stood before him. And the judgment was first over the stars, and they were judged, and they were found to be sinners, and went to the place of judgment, and were thrown into an abyss filled with fire, and burning filled with pillars of fire. And those 70 shepherds there was 70 leaders of the group, wasn't there, under Azazel?
70 is the number.
Were judged and were found to be sinners, and they were thrown into the abyss of fire. And I saw at that time that an abyss, like it was opened in the middle of the earth, that is, I believe it'll be actually in the crust of the planet, which was full of fire, that is, to be volcanically active. And they brought those blinded sheep, and they all were judged and found to be sinners, and were thrown into the abyss of fire and burned. And the abyss was to the right of that house, which I do believe is going to be only a failure rating of 1 in 264,000. And I saw those sheep burning, and their bones burned.
Just basically,
and you can't live in a lava flow.
All of this is just a repeat of the whole story all over again. It really is.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying all of it is just about end times. It's extremely repetitive.
It's just going back over it and picking different versions and different things and putting different metaphors upon the point that everybody's going to be left here is going to be burnt and It is very.
That's right, and that's all over the whole planet, and people who never met each other.
Right. Well, we've only done one story.
I mean, it predates language.
Well, we've only covered this story so far. We shall see what the next story says. But it's the same.
Okay, I'm still going to hold to my statement, though.
Okay, no, hold to your statement.
It's the same thing again and again. Bones burned, enveloped that old house. That would be the planet.
Yeah.
And they took out all the pillars and all the planks and ornaments in the house. We're going to take everything off this planet worth keeping, and it's going with us. On the right of the earth.
Pillars, ornaments, new.
And us.
All the sheep had left.
Yeah, this is where the Jews leave in Exodus. They take everything from their they borrow from their neighbors, take it with them. Go ahead.
I'm just skimming and reading. You know, they're all taken away. They've been dressed in white. Jesus, or the Lord of the sheep, is taken.
Yes, you're going to hear it several times.
All the wild beasts of heaven collected in this lovely new house that he has, which would be heaven, the spaceship.
Which would be Noah's Ark. This is the collecting of animals into Noah's Ark. It's also going to be there.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm just trying to see if we can find something. Oh, there we go. Right, this bit's over there. There, we'll say that we write around.
Something new? Good luck.
And I kind of trembled because I'd seen that vision. Okay, the waffle. Let's highlight the waffle. Oh,
highlight the waffle. Turn it blue and then pink and then red. Because it's not going to get red.
I haven't been talking to B. I assume that they're working, or how are they? Have you been?
B's doing great. B's working a lot. Yeah, there's extra demand right now, as you know, in medical supply.
Yeah. Keeping themselves safe. Make sure they keep.
Looks healthy, as far as I can tell.
This is an awful lot of waffle this time. Jim Majors is in the chat losing his shit.
Peace and respect, Jim Majors.
Jim, you can jump on afterwards if you want. You know, we'll go. I don't know. We'll maybe do a wee after party for.
Sure.
Hour. Yeah, maybe half hour, 45 minutes.
That'd be a wee bit of fun.
A bit of crack, hey.
A bit of crack and a wee bit of fun, eh?
Hey, oh, hi. Right, chapter 91. I'll go for a wee bit here because see if it changes, right? Chapter 91. And now, my son Methuselah, call to me all thy brothers, and assemble to me all the children of thy mother. For the word calls me, and the Spirit is poured out over me, and I show you all that will happen to you in eternity. And then Methuselah went and called out his brothers, and they all assembled everybody, and then he told them all the same fucking story 50 fucking times, and they jumped off a cliff. And he conversed with all his children. Justice, hear my children. All the words of your father, and listen purely to the voice of my mouth. For I admonish you, and I tell you my beloved love, and recite and walk in it. And do not approach rectitude with a double heart, and I do not associate with those of a double heart. But walk in justice, my children, and she will lead you in the good path, and justice will be your companion. Not much there, tell it like. Just him telling the story to everybody.
Y'all be nice now.
Yeah, all be nice now, you hear? For I knew of a condition of oppression will grow strong on the earth, and great punishment will be completed over the earth, and the injustice will be completed and be cut off at the roots. and its whole habitation destroyed. And again injustice will be repeated, and the deeds of injustice and the deeds of oppression and of sin will be renewed upon the earth. And when injustice and sin and reveling and oppression...
But it's not about end times.
Yeah, clearly not. And all the deeds will increase.
Clearly not about end times.
And falling off and reveling... Strong judgment. Sinners will be destroyed with the sword. What a shock. Sinners will be delivered into the hands of the just. Man, I think we are getting close to the end of this, because I cannot take the fucking same story 10 times.
It's another summary, yay!
Oh look, now I tell you, my children, and show you the path of justice, the paths of oppression, and I will show you to them again, and again, and again, and again, and ye may know what will come. And now hear, my children, and walk in the paths of justice, and do not walk in the paths of oppression, for they will be destroyed in eternity, who walk in the paths of injustice. And then more waffle.
And waffling. Ooh, that was a short waffling.
Yeah, that was quite short. I wasn't
expecting. It was only like one paragraph of citations and opinions and lots of argument.
Right, back to you.
All right then. Written by Enoch the scribe, all this doctrine of wisdom praiseworthy to all men, and a judge of all the earth, to all my children who will dwell on the earth, and to the future generations who will practice rectitude and peace. Let not your spirits be sorrowful on account of the times, for the great Holy One has given days for everything. And the just will arise from sleep, will arise and walk in the paths of justice, and all his paths and ways will be in everlasting goodness and grace. And will be gracious to the just ones, and will give him everlasting rectitude, and will give power, and will be in goodness and justice, and will walk in the everlasting light. But sin will be destroyed in darkness to eternity, and will not be seen from that day on to eternity. But it's not about the end. And after that, I'm just ribbing Jim. And after that, Enoch commenced to relate out of the books. And Enoch said, concerning the children of justice, and concerning the chosen of the world, and concerning the planet of justice and the rectitude, of these I will speak to you and announce to you, my children. I, Enoch, as it has appeared to me in a vision from heaven, and what I learned through the voice of the holy angels, and understood from the tablets of heaven. And Enoch commenced to relate from the book, and said, I was born in the 7th in the first week, while judgment and justice were yet retarded. So before end times. And there will arise after me in the second week great evil, beast of Satan.
Born in the first week does not mean just before end times. It means in the first week, like. Born the 7th.
Yeah, in the first week of the month, right before end times.
So he
said before the judgment, while judgment and justice were still yet retarded.
Yeah, but saying the first week is the first week now. Oh, okay.
So he's born before end times, before the judgment.
Okay, I don't think he's born a month before. Did he grow up really quickly?
Yeah, the first week of a month. He doesn't.
Right. Okay, I get you now. Go on ahead.
No, I'm not saying that. He's just born the first week of a month.
A month. I get you now.
But it was before end times. He wasn't born during end times, is what he's saying. That's all. I think that's all he's saying.
No, I just misheard you. I thought
so
you said
I had some time to grow up before it happened.
Born a month before end times. That's what I heard. And that's why I was like, no, he didn't.
What was that? I misheard you.
I says, I thought.
And there will arise after me in the second week. Wait a minute, who's going to read? You okay? You
ahead.
read.
No, go on ahead. Go on ahead.
The second week, great evil and destruction will spring up, and in there will be the first end. And in it, a man will be saved. And after it is finished, injustice will grow, and he will make a law for the sinners. And after that, in the third week, or we're going to figure out what these weeks mean. In the end thereof, a man will be chosen as a plant of the judgments of justice, and after him the plant of justice will come forever. And after that, in the fourth week, and in the end thereof, visions of the holy and just will be seen, and a law for all generations, and a court will be made for them. And after that, in the fifth week, Is this going to end at 7 weeks?
Probably.
In the 5th week, and in the end thereof, a house of glory and supremacy will be built to eternity. And after that, the 6th week, those who will exist in it will all be blinded, and their hearts will all forget wisdom. And in the end thereof, the house of supremacy will burn with fire, and the whole race of the chosen root will be cut off. And after that, in the 7th week, a rebellious generation will arise, and many will be their deeds, and all their deeds will be rebellious. And in the end thereof, the chosen just of the everlasting plan of justice will be rewarded. 7 portions of learning are given to them concerning all his creation.
So what do you
That
say?
should be the last week. Is it the last week? It is the last week.
Yeah, you're going to say we're in the last week and we're all being rebellious now, aren't you?
Am I going to say that? No, it's evident.
Okay. I just want
And in the
to
end thereof, the chosen...
It's going to kick you again.
I didn't have to say it. You're going to say it for me. It's fine.
Go on ahead. No, sorry, go on.
No, it's absolutely true. The further you go back in history of the planet, and the smaller the communities and the less science they had, the more religion they had. So when these religions say there's going to be a great falling away, I think it's referring to the advancement of technology and science.
That's a good justification for what you're thinking. Right, go on ahead.
Pretty decent, yeah. Works pretty good.
Of course it works.
Yeah, of course we learn science and technology and drop the ideas of Thor makes lightning. Of course we do. What else would we do? Where were we? And thereof chosen of the everlasting all his creatures. And who is there of all the children of men that is able to hear the voice of the Holy One?
Oh.
And does not tremble? And who is able to think who can stand? And who is able to think his thoughts? And who that is able to see all the works of heaven? And how could one know the deeds of heaven and be able to see his breath and his spirit and be able to relate it or ascend and see all their ends and think them or act like them? And who is the man that is able to know what the breadth and the length of the earth is, and to whom is the measure of them all been shown? Or is there any man who is able to know the length of heaven and what its height, and upon what it is established, and what is the measure in regards the number of the stars, and where all the luminaries rest?
Well, that's just knowledge that we'll gain. You know, the size of the earth, we know that, and getting out there. And yeah, I can see that an advanced race would know these things, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
If we survive our last week.
And now, I think you're going to survive the last week just fine, bro. And now I say to you, my children, love justice and walk in it. For the paths of justice are worthy that they be accepted, and the paths of injustice are destroyed suddenly and cease. And to certain men, a future generation, the paths of violence and of death will be revealed, and they will retreat from them and will not follow them. And now I say, and see, doesn't that give you hope? And now I say to you, the just, do not walk in the wicked paths and in violence, and not in the paths of death, and do not approach them. For you be not destroyed.
I'm still going to
but
scream
love
overlords.
and choose for yourselves justice and pleasing life, and walk in the paths of peace, that you may live and have joy. And hold on to the thoughts of your hearts. And let not my words be eradicated from your hearts. For I know that the sinners will deceive men to make wisdom wicked, and it will not find a place. And all the kinds of temptations will not cease.
You're taking this very serious.
Woe to those who build injustice and violence, and found deception, for they will be rooted out suddenly, and will have no peace. Woe to those who build their houses in sin, for they will be rooted out from their foundation, and will fall by the sword. And they who acquire gold and silver will be destroyed by sudden judgment. Woe to you rich, for you have trusted in your riches, but you will come away from your riches, because you have not remembered the Most High in the days of your riches. You have done reviling and injustice, and were prepared for the day of bloodshed, and for the day of darkness, and for the day of great judgment. Thus I speak to you, and I announce to you that he who has created you will destroy you from the foundation, and over your fall there will be no pity. And your Creator will rejoice in your destruction, and your just in those days will be disgrace to sinners and the impious.
Oh. Right. So it's just the same, it's more of him just speaking to us now.
Yep, it's preaching.
Yep, just preaching. Now he's going to cry. He's going to cry. He's going to cry some more. Oh, there's people who are wicked. Oh, judgment has hit the sinners. Oh, the sinners are being destroyed before you. Oh, look at that. Yes, but we'll all lament and cry. Yes, moving on. The rest will go. Oh, the rest go to heaven. What a shock. Anything new?
I suppose we've had enough crying right now, haven't we?
Well, there is a lot of madness going on at the minute. What are you going to do? We're going to flee in the day of judgment. Richard, have you anything to add to this? Because this is looking like this is going to... You know? It's the same old,
it's just
same
going
old.
To keep saying the same thing.
Yeah, the
again.
first 60 chapters, 70
Yes.
chapters were
Yes, it is.
entertaining. But these last couple of chapters are really grating at me, man. And that's just the gospel truth. Like,
It's fine.
Swear to you, wise and the foolish. Have you anything to add to this? What have you got gained from reading the Book of Enoch? What is your opinion on it?
My opinion on it overall, that's going to happen.
Do you want to give a
That's
short
my opinion
brief?
overall.
What is that behind you? You talk about what's behind you. And I'll skim
it's
this.
a rendering from multiple... What's that?
I says, you tell people what that is, and I'll skim this. Make it relevant to the Book of Enoch.
I think that all the religious expressions are talking about the end of religion and our acceptance of truth and our ancestry who are space travelers already, which is what we're trying to do naturally.
And you don't think we're too far away from end times?
We're pretty close to getting off of this planet, wouldn't you say? And if it's true, O proud waters, thou shalt come to the shore, begin to explore space and go no further. If that's true as well, then we get stopped from doing it.
Being able to reach the moon or reach Mars in a ship, with a person in it and get back safe, does not give me the ability to build a multi-galaxy ship where I am capable of stripping all metals and all the water off a planet and then move on. It also doesn't give me the ability for directed panspermia. We're nowhere near the technology level that you assume.
Where they are claiming to be.
Yeah.
You're right. But all it says is, O proud waters, thou shalt go to the shore and no further. It doesn't say, O proud waters, thou shalt not create your own seas. It doesn't say that. We're not even going to get that far according to the story.
Oh, so they're out there waiting for us, and the moment we get up into space, they're going to poke at us. These are out here now, how we exist. This is the Star Trek first generation or next generation.
You ever get the feeling you're being watched?
It depends.
You ever get that feeling?
Depends if I've been talking to Dave that day or not. Right. I think there's 108 chapters, and this is all the same. So we will go, isn't it, 108 chapters? Geo, check for me there. You have the paper, isn't it? 108? 105. Well, at least give it the last line, the last paragraph.
I would respect GeoSam by answering something that he asked. If I'm applying it properly, oh, we're close. How the blank would he know? Or how the blank does he know? We'll know when the signs happen. The signs have to be unmistakable, in the correct order, things human beings can't do, things that statistically cannot happen twice. I recommend to everyone, even if they think it's a joke, even if they think it's stupid, that they at least read the signs, that they at least read over the text describing what the signs will be. I mean, even if it sounds like insanity, it doesn't matter if it sounds that way.
But that is the reason
It
we're
should
doing
sound like insanity right now.
The reason we're doing this from
Yeah.
my point of view is that this is my downtime. You know, I'm here to have fun and hang out with a good friend of mine, and you know, this is enjoyable for me. I've never read the Book of Enoch before. I'm not fucking going to do it again, but it's something that I wanted to do, and I don't know. It's enjoyable to do this. I don't believe most of the stuff that Richard says. I'll agree that he has his own justification for it. He's bad at putting his point across sometimes, but I'm here to have fun. He's here to spread the word. You can make your own decisions. That's the whole idea of this. The information is there. His point of view is there. Choose to ignore it. Choose to follow it. I think you're weird you do, but Alien Overlords! Richard,
Alien Overlords!
do you want to go? There's
Yeah,
the last chapter. That's the last bit there.
You know, if I'm completely wrong, I'm hurting no one by telling them a weird fairy tale. But if this view of it is right, this is hugely important.
Well, we're not going to go down the route of what is that?
Because it's not people floating up into the air without their clothes on. It's not what's described. And it's not you poof out of existence into some other realm. It's not what's described. And the doctrine of churches within Christianity make absolutely no sense and are not even close to being plausible in reality. But what I see being described is completely plausible in reality. All it requires is that evolution happened somewhere else before it happened here. And that they're the same kind of creature that we are. And even if they were only 1,000 years more advanced than we are, oh my gosh, where would we be in 1,000 years?
Well, advancement in 1,000 years is definitely moving faster. There's no doubt about that. Right, well, on that, I'm going to pop this screen down. We'll do our little 15-minute banter at the end. Let me see. That was the Book of Enoch. Series 2! Which means we get now. Next week, I'm going to go down and spend the week with my daughter. So I'll not be able to host anything.
Aw.
You're going to spend a week with Madonna?
I'm going to go and spend a week with her.
No, yes, with Madonna. That's what he said.
My daughter.
Madonna's getting old, but she's still pretty.
I'm going to spend a week with my daughter.
Oh, daughter. Sorry.
Yes. So we'll have no show.
That's beautiful too, I guess.
There'll be no show next Thursday. I'm going down on Monday. So I've got my interview with Neil on Sunday. Neil the 604 Atheist is coming on Sunday. And then we've got Mama Atheist coming on Monday. And then, I'll be on streams because I'll take the laptop with me, but there'll be nothing here till next week or so till we get things all sorted. It's just what we need to do. It's one of those flipping things. Dave, how are you?
Wait a minute. Dave, how are you?
I'm
Dave
very
died.
coffee. I'm coughing a lot.
Are
I'm
you?
not sure that's a good thing.
Why?
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it? Hopefully,
Yes.
I've got a cold. I've never wished for a cold more.
Oh. Look,
Okay, Dave, I'm going to ask you to justify something you stated. You're hurting no one unless one of the other fairy tales is right. Now, the reason I said I'm hurting no one is because if they're sitting around waiting to disappear and they don't, then this stuff happens, then they have a heads up. On the other hand, if this stuff doesn't happen at all and they just disappear, then how did I hurt them?
Why would they just disappear if they? I thought
That's what they think is going to happen.
Which fairy tale are you talking about?
Oh, Christianity
Are you talking about-
specifically right then.
Are you talking about the magic rapture and raised up into space one?
The magic what? Rapture?
Rapture.
Oh, rapture. Sorry, my mistake. The magic rapture, and you're lifted up into space. Yeah, where you like your angel, your body disappears and your clothes fall to the ground. Like missing or whatever.
But doesn't that only happen to
Whatever they
people who
think.
believe in it? You're very
What?
telling your story.
People who believe in it don't believe that it only happens to those who believe in it, but all who come to believe in it.
But the point is, if you persuade someone to not believe in it by telling your story, you could potentially be doing them harm if their story is true.
No, go through the logic of it, man. If what they're sitting around waiting to disappear. What?
Dave's just trying to say, if your story's wrong and you have convinced someone else away from their story, considering that we give the possibility that some of these stories could be true, what is saying that yours is over theirs?
Yes, that's what I'm addressing exactly. Okay, let's say I was sitting there waiting to disappear. All right? And I don't, but I'm waiting to disappear. And then all this stuff that I think the stories are telling happens. And I had a heads up to it. And although I'm sitting there waiting to disappear, I don't, but this stuff does happen. Then I had a heads up. On the flip side of the same coin, if I'm sitting here waiting for these things that I'm describing, if I'm waiting for like this to arrive and it doesn't, and I disappear instead, it's self-solving.
No, because if your stuff doesn't happen and they don't get raptured because they don't believe in that anymore, they have lost out because you have persuaded them to not believe in the rapture.
No. People don't go to heaven because they believe in the rapture. You've got that part wrong.
It's all nuts. People interpret it differently.
No. You will not find a religious person saying, I will go to heaven because I believe in the rapture. No, you won't.
They go to heaven because they believe in Jesus.
What am I? Did you hear me say Jesus doesn't exist because of my view? Did you hear me say that?
No, but...
Did you hear me lead anyone away from the idea of Christ's existence?
Yes. Because
How?
your version of Jesus is not theirs. You may as well call it Bob.
Bob.
Yeah, it's just actually it's a job description. It's more like saying construction worker.
To you, but not to them. And if they're right, them believing in your Bob is not the same as them believing in their Jesus.
I think you're assigning prejudice to God that he's not describing to himself, but only exists in Christian view.
I think I'm describing the Christian view. I agree.
I know. I get that. I get that, but in the Christian text, God says, "I'm going to save anyone who calls out to me." So he's got this like catch-all thing.
So if I turn around and say, "I call out to Jesus," I believe I.
No, not Jesus. Not
God?
Calling out to Jesus, calling out to God.
Aren't they not the same thing?
Oh my gosh, you're so Christianized. No, nor does the Bible claim they are the same thing. That's doctrinal.
Jesus is the prophet. Jesus is the shepherd. He's the one that leads us, and then God's the head man and captain of the ship.
Look, here's the way it goes. At some point in the history of this planet, somebody made a wheel. We don't even know who that person's name was, but that doesn't matter. We got the wheel.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to have the first wheel have the truth of God. That would be Christ. That's really cool, but that's not what it's about. It's about having a wheel.
Yeah.
So Christ is all about, look, this is the truth of God. Like, people try to worship, he's like, don't do that, that's wrong. Chirp, chirp, chirp.
I'm just waiting to see what Dave says next.
He's about to just hit his head on the desk.
You can, but I don't recommend it.
Oh.
I almost had an aneurysm arguing about Kent Hovind last night.
What was the aneurysm about? Because Mama couldn't remember peppered moth, or because they kept reading into what I was saying, or what was the aneurysm about?
It was about what he was saying about evolution.
Who said about evolution?
Kent.
Oh, that stuff's insane.
Yeah, properly is.
Oh, it's proper. I mean, he's just going to use the parts that agree with him and ignore the rest, which gives him half a theory, maybe.
It doesn't give him half a theory. It doesn't
I'm
even
being
give him a
forgiving.
notion. You think to go.
Richard's not an evolution fan either, but we have been down that route, and that was
No. Wait. He is an evolution fan. That's that.
Oh, I totally believe evolution happened somewhere, sometime. It had to have.
just not on this
I'm
planet.
just not sure where or when.
Right, that's it. We've went an hour. This will be the end of the series. Richard, you've got 2 weeks to check your questions. And if anybody can think of any more questions, send them to me on Twitter or Discord or anything like that. Anything.
Well,
for
Jim had one in the side comment if you got 3 seconds.
Go for that, man, yeah.
Mr. Majors wrote, do you think the signs themselves are unmistakable? Or only when viewing them as a chronological sequence? I think the signs themselves will be unmistakable, unrepeatable, exceedingly, and I mean exponentially unlikely, but also will be in the correct order. So both.
Right. Well, Richard, you'll have 2 weeks. I'll send you the list. If anyone else can think of any other questions they want to poke at Richard about the Book of Enoch specifically, don't be sending me any questions off topic like that, man. In 2 weeks' time on a Thursday, we'll have like an end of series party. So if anybody wants in on that, we'll do a link. It'll be like an open hangout. You can come in, and yeah, it'll just be fun. It'll probably still be fucking lockdown, so we'll just blow off some steam, and yeah, it should be fun. So on that, I appreciate you all coming. I think we're going to go with the book of, or not the Epic of Gilgamesh. Isn't that what we're talking about, Richard?
Sounds like fun.
We'll have a look at that. We'll see about getting some the oldest copy we can find, and that's in English, and we'll go with that. So on that note, everybody, Sunday I'll be back. Dave is probably going to do his stream tomorrow at some stage. Dave, yes?
2 o'clock. I'm pretty much going for 2 o'clock every day.
Go for 2 o'clock UK. Right, 2 o'clock UK.
Every day.
What?
2 o'clock
Every
UK
day.
every day.
Every day. Right. Well, on that, we'll see you all at Dave's tomorrow then. Yeah, sub to Dave.
Sub to Dave.
I should do Richard's too, really, shouldn't I?
Oh.
This stream.